Good morning, everyone. There's a Palestinian maintenance caretaker on one of the properties here near the synagogue, and we're good friends. He actually comes from the West Bank, and we're able to talk about things. But this morning I came over to him and I said, could you show me where there's a fruit tree that's just starting to blossom? The reason I asked him for this is because during the month of Nisan, which is the month we're in, there's a special blessing that you could make when you see a tree that's starting to bloom. And you thank God for creating beautiful, delightful fruit trees to enjoy and give pleasure to mankind. And you could only say it during the month of Nisan. And today we're already at the 25th day of Nisan, so we have about less than a week left to say this blessing. So I said, boy, I got to say this blessing. So I saw him, and he was kind enough to show me this lemon tree that's starting to bloom. You could see the beginning of the lemons. So I'm going to start by making this blessing, and I encourage everyone to find a blooming, blossoming tree. When you see the bud, you could say this blessing. You could only make it once a year, this blessing. So make sure you find one and say the blessing. And the blessing is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shelo chisar ba'olamo klum ubara bo briot tovot vilonot tovot lehanait behem bnei adam. Which means, bless you, God, King of the universe, who there's nothing lacking in his universe, and created beautiful creations and beautiful trees to give pleasure, delight, and enjoyment to mankind. This week's Torah portion tells us to keep and observe the commandments. But then it adds two extra words, lalechet bahem, to walk in them. Now these key words are so fundamental that the entire body of Jewish law is called halacha, to walk, the walking path. The question is, if I'm already performing and keeping the commandments, what are we adding with the two words in the Torah, to walk in them? And the obvious answer is that the Torah is teaching us that it's not enough to do the commandments. You could perform the mitzvahs by rote, perfunctory. You could go through the motions. But the question is, are you walking? Are you progressing? Are you growing as a human being? Are you developing into a better person as a result of the mitzvot? Are the mitzvot advancing you in life and bringing you to a higher place, a greater character traits and personality growth and relationships and kindness and all the wonderful traits? Make sure you're not stagnant. Make sure you're not just doing it without any thought or feeling. Make sure that the mitzvot are making you better. And that's why Jewish law is called halacha. Life is a journey, and we always have to be growing and advancing in all areas of life. But perhaps even a step forward, even more than that. Sometimes the mitzvot, not only don't they advance you, but sometimes they could actually make you regress. And therefore the Torah says, don't do the mitzvah, God forbid, if it's going to cause you to regress rather than advance. And I'm reminded of the story we just came from the holiday of Passover. And there are those Jews, myself included, that have a custom not to mix the matzah with any liquid. So we don't have matzah ball soup or matzah brai. Why? Because there's a concern that there could be a little bit of flour in the matzah that wasn't baked. And if you put it into liquid and it sits there for more than 18 minutes, it could rise and become chametz. It's a special stringency that many Jews keep. And there's a story about the previous Rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Scheiner, that he was sitting at a Seder, and there was a guest there who wasn't a chassid of the Rebbe, but he was at the Seder, and he didn't know about this custom not to mix the matzah with liquid. So when it came to the meal, he took his matzah, and there was a nice beet salad on the table, so he put a scoop of beets on the matzah to eat it together. Now, if you keep the stringency of gebrachs, you'll never mix the matzah with any liquid, so you wouldn't mix it with any salad. So everyone got excited and was like, oh, you don't do that. And there was a whole commotion at the table. The Rebbe was sitting at the other end of the table, and he asked somebody, what's the commotion? They said there was this Jew there, he didn't know, and he put the beet salad on the matzah, so everybody told him not to do it. And the Rebbe said to this person in Yiddish, it's better to have a red matzah than a red face. You're so concerned about the matzah being red and making gebrachs, which is a very strict, extra custom and stringency, but what did you do in the process? You made someone's face turn red of embarrassment. Make sure that your mitzvahs, your piety, your religiosity is wonderful and God-serving, but never do it at the expense of something else. And therefore make sure that all of your mitzvot, like the fruit tree, the whole point of mitzvot is to bear fruit. The measure of your observance of mitzvot is the fruit that you produce in your life. When you look at your day, it's not just a question of did I do the mitzvot, but did I bear fruit, and fruit that are delightful, pleasurable, enjoyable for mankind, just like the fruit that God provides for us. Have a wonderful day.